Excellence 59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern or somewhere around there. And we talk about guns for an hour or so. This is episode 833. So we started this show a couple weeks ago. And over the episodes, we've changed formats a bit. And right now it's a panel discussion. If you want to join in, let me know over on the Gun Channel side. There's just a few links out today, but it looks like nobody showed up except for Dead Horse showing up from Utah. Thanks for joining.
Howdy, thanks for having me, G.
You bet. We've been chatting off here there a bit, and figured instead of waiting forever for other people to show up, we'd go live. So we do this as an effort in the new media, in an exercise in an interactive nature of the internet. So we appreciate the people that show up on the two platforms we broadcast on live. Of course, Gun Channels, community we built 6 years ago, a place for conversations like this. And then that other one, that we used as a tool to broadcast this. We appreciate people that show up on both sides and interact in the conversation. When you're on Gun Channels, you get a little green thing next to your name there so we know when you're there. Say hey if you want, but on the other side, you pretty much have to say something for us to know you're there. Otherwise, it's just a blip, I guess. So with that, tonight is Wednesday. We normally talk about entertainment, but I have a show tomorrow with some people who are in the know with the NRA and follow what's happening with a lot of intent for their various projects and interests. So we've got Jeff Knox joining us. We've got Rob Pincus. We'll have Sean from We Like Shooting and Jared from Guns and Gadgets. And I got one more invite out there they haven't gotten a reply back from, but maybe even one more person and who's got their head on and focused on the NRA. And I really am just using my ability to have a platform and their ears to get them there. But I'm no expert on the NRA. I'm going to play host, but in a very superficial way, since I don't have much to add as far as in-depth research or anything. I'll ask questions and I'll help monitor the chat for questions. But I would like to have some sort of general outline for the chat so that we're not just totally random. We'll have 2 hours and we'll have multiple hosts. So what I would like to do tonight, with Dead Horse's help and whoever's watching tonight, and of course there are some links out there for people who might join us. What kind of questions or what kind of format would you use for a panel discussion about what's happening with the NRA today?
Oh boy, I mean that's kind of a tough one because some people that's a really sensitive subject, and
yeah, but we're not talking to a bunch of people who never heard of the NRA before. These are people that are paying attention and following it. They're on the pulse of it.
The first thing I'd probably want to know is just what is their interpretation of what's going on right now in the NRA, because I've heard a lot of people interpret it differently. There seems to be no one consensus about what's really going on inside the NRA right now. So I would want to know kind of like where are they coming from? Like what is your opinion on what's going on right now with Wayne LaPierre, the financial fiascos, misappropriation of funds. Those are some of the, I guess, hard-hitting questions I'd really want asked, especially the misappropriation of funds thing. $26,000 suits, stuff like that. Is that just a normal thing that all big businesses have or I guess it's not really a business, right? It's
well, it's an entity, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, Goodwill's a massively fraudulent money-making entity that hides behind, quote-unquote, an engineered name Goodwill, right? And there's other things out there that are, quote-unquote, nonprofits or supposedly, organizations or stuff that make all kinds of money.
I'd also want to know is is stuff like the salaries, and then their expense accounts, or getting paid for talking, their getting travel reimbursement, and the kind of numbers that are appearing behind those names. Are those logical, understandable numbers, or are they kind of on the outrageous side? And I guess people are definitely going to be thinking differently when it comes to numbers, because one number to one person might seem like a low amount, and that same number to the next person might be like, oh, that's outrageous, right? And
Well, of course.
so I'd like to see where they're coming from on, especially the financial thing. I think that's what a lot of people really are asking the question about right now, and are really concerned about, and a lot of the uproar is just the misappropriation of funds. And then probably the court case in New York next, right? Their thoughts on that, and how that's playing out, and how that's going down, and especially if they have insight into the NRA instead of just like me. I can only speculate. I don't have any insight.
See, those are specifics, and I think two issues with that. First is if I don't know what the whole picture is. So if I ask specifics, even if we come up with some specifics as a group, how do we know that we're hitting everything that's important or that they may have had in mind? So since I'm not a subject matter expert, and I'm not comfortable knowing that we can be, you know what I mean? It's not like, I don't know, something that's finite that we could pretty much figure out we know most of what we're talking about just because we've seen both ends of it, and we know that we've seen the whole spectrum of it. We don't know what the whole spectrum is here. So even if we spent, let's say, an hour coming up with good questions, what if we're asking questions about, procedure over here on the left, and the real issues are, engineering over there on the right. So we could have been spinning our wheels, I guess. So I like the idea that since we're going to have a group of people that have interest in the NRA and knowledge and stuff, but we don't know the accumulation of their knowledge or their focus. I like that first question about, I don't know how you phrase it now because I've been chatting, but like, where do you think we're at? So like maybe, if it's a 2-hour chat with 4 or 5 people, we're going to be offering stuff. If, I figure I'm not going to be able to ask like 12 questions, right? I might have 6 or something ready to go, but I think I'm going to try to do it as like maybe 4 pieces so that they all have a chance to chime in and have some discussion on it. But maybe a more general question, I think, would be like, where are we at? Like, where do we stand? And then maybe a question again, like, once they've kind of given us the sit rep where we are, what's like the most pressing thing? Because then we might get 4 different answers. Because I just fear if I asked them something specific, what about XYZ, the court case in New York? They might all answer the question because I asked it to them, but 2 of them think that something in Pittsburgh is more important, and 1 of them thinks something in DC is the big deal. You know what I mean? And I never had a chance to ask them, and they never had a chance to say it.
No, that's definitely a good. So if we're talking about kind of more, or so are you thinking more open-ended questions instead of getting just into like specifics? Asking more open-ended questions.
Way to do it. I'm no expert on it, but I'm just, as I just kind of sketched it there. Yeah, I'm thinking in general, maybe 3 or 4 major questions for the whole interview, and then something that's, not just like complete conjecture so that they can just speculate forever, but something that they can give their point of view on. But something like, like we just said, like, what's the most important thing? Because now they can actually say, well, I think it's 2 things, or I think it's XYZ. And then maybe even engineer the question so that they, you just follow up. Okay, now that we know the most important thing, what's the most important thing we can do, or something like that. So I'm thinking maybe some general structure, and I guess with a 2-hour interview, maybe 5 or 6 even major topics, just in case one of them falls like a dud and one of them we all agree on or something, right? Or one of them doesn't turn out as interesting as we thought. Have a couple extras, and then maybe put them in order so that the most important stuff gets hit, and then as if it keeps going, then it just gets less and less critical.
One thing I would really like to know, that I personally would like to know about from people with this kind of insight into the NRA, is not only just like what's going on with the NRA, but the ILA, and then I forget the name of it, but their media group, I guess, that does the NRA TV and all that. I forget the name off the top of my head, but I would like to know how those work together, and is it, and what kind of control maybe Wayne LaPierre has over these groups, or does he really have say, or how do they work together, and how are they working together as a team, so to say, so to speak. I would personally like to dig into that, like what's going on, because maybe is it just one? I've heard a lot of things brought up about this media group. Is it just that media group that's really the cause of this lawsuit and everything, and it really does have nothing to do with the actual NRA or the ILA or whatnot, or does it involve all three of them? So I would just like more clarification on how those groups were working together, and their thoughts on those three groups. I've heard a lot of people speak out about the NRA media, or the NRA TV thing, saying that that's something that's not needed at all. So I don't know. I would just like to get more clarification from them on how they're actually working together as a team, and how it actually works as the infrastructure of that organization. How do they delegate that back and forth and appropriate funds, and how are they working together for a common goal?
Well, we've got people that watch the NRA. I mean, I guess it's possible they're going to know internal type of stuff like that. This isn't really like NRA board of directors. These aren't people that are in the NRA. They're people that are, I don't want to say critical, but they're not in lockstep with the NRA, that's for sure. But they're not. They don't know of any of them having access specifically to. They might know that, I guess, that kind of structure thing. I don't know if that would be a better question for an NRA board member. I suspect getting an NRA board member on to talk about the internal structure of the NRA at this time would be difficult, because they don't want to talk about stuff when they're in the flux, you know what I mean, when they don't know what's going on. So how are they supposed to answer? And I don't know if getting them on just to talk about NRA structure would be something that they would do or not.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know if that's the kind of stuff that, like, just as an active member of the NRA is known, and most people just don't pay attention, because that could easily be too. And then anybody on the board might know about it, because they definitely are paying attention to it. I think though, since like I'm just thinking of like Pincus, and while Pincus was in the room on Saturday during the NRA national meetings, right, annual meetings, and literally got up on the stage, introduced himself, and did stuff right at the meeting we were watching live. So Pincus has insight there, that's unique, that asking these guys to speculate on the overall structure of the NRA is more of like an informative thing. I mean, I guess that's what we're doing this for, is to inform. I just don't know where to start people off when you've got subject matter experts. Do you start at like, what's the NRA? Or do you start at like, we've got 2 hours, is it salvageable? Where, that kind of, larger questions, or the, like, what's your guys's, let's go around the room and what's the most important thing we need to take from this discussion tonight? And,
how do we fix this and move on?
Or, you've got 4 people in the room here. What can, is there anything that we can learn from each other? Is there any resources that we could use, something like that? I don't know. That's kind of maybe an ending question or something for me going towards off air or something. But, or maybe what's the word? What initiatives are going on right now that are, what should we know about? Like not what can we do theoretically, blah, 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 but like what's happening right now? Like, does anyone know of these people, what's happening right now? Because, Jared, he's constantly aware of what's going on, right? Jeff has been around the stuff literally his entire life, knows all the players. And again, he's not like an insider, but he's, comfortable with, like, he's been paying attention the whole time. So this is just like him remembering, what it was like 3 birthdays ago, or like what it was like on graduation for your cousin or something. Like, these are just NRA milestones, or just things that he remembers. So he's going to have that kind of stuff at recall. I don't know where Pincus is in the whole thing, but he's certainly active and aware with, this current stuff. And the We Like Shooting guys had just recently done some stuff on the history of this whole thing with the I keep forgetting the name of this place. Ackerman and something, right? So I'm saying they're kind of each coming from a different place. So it's not like they're all focused on NRA lobbying, and they're not all focused on NRA sporting activities or anything. They're coming at it from different experience levels and stuff. So that's why I'm wondering, too general a question might just be interesting, but what I'm trying to accomplish is what we can motivate the people that watch it to get something out of it, so that we're not just echo chamber repeating stuff or theorizing on stuff, like what we can actually leave the chat with a call to action or something.
No, that's...
Sorry, other than asking when is Wayne leaving and when will you resume looking out for the best interests of your 5 million members, I got nothing. You realize we're talking to people who are not the NRA, right? We're talking to Rob Pincus, who's this independent dude who got up on the stage and challenged the board of the NRA to stay into whatever status of meeting, and then, and he was petitioning them to change into the whatever mode of the meeting so that they could get rid of LaPierre. So I don't think you're on the same wavelength, Wonders. Has the NRA become his plaything? We know that, right? I mean, come on, we're talking to people who are paying attention, Sarge. So like I said, I don't want to start with introductory questions. We're not like taking kindergarteners on an introduction of what the NRA is, and then how they, finally conclude with how they're evil. We want to walk away with something that we can do, right? No problem. Go ahead. I kind of expected to have a panel. I don't want to leave this all on dead horse and a bunch of people that are trying to do this by text, so we could move on.
So Pete had a question out there on the gun channel side. If the NRA survives and the leadership goes away, will it happen with the next people that come on board? Will it just be a continuing cycle? And then like we said it before, but where do we go from there?
Well, I like the beginning of it, because that's just asking people to ponder, right? Who cares? At least if you want to ponder, somebody can do that in some other chat when we got more time. But I like the beginning of that. Like, is the NRA salvageable, period? Because that would be an interesting question to hear from, again, these people with different perspectives. If we get that perspective from each of them, then we know where they're all coming from, right? So maybe I should start.
Well, not only that, they might be able to provide insight on why they feel that way, too.
Well, I'm thinking, is it a way to do an interview with a panel like that, to do a couple of yes and no's, like that? Is the NRA salvageable, yes or no? And then now we know 3 of them think yes and 2 of them think no or something, or, and then a couple of quick questions like that strategically that give everybody kind of an idea where everybody's coming from. Like, what's your interaction with the NRA? How long have you been involved in this? I got hiccups. How long have you been involved in this? I don't know. How long have you been paying attention to this, I guess? So we all get an idea, because that's going to be very, very different from each of the panel. But anyway, and then let them elaborate. Because if it turns out that like 2 of them are one way and 2 of them are another way, that's a different panel than if all 4 of them are in unison. Then, you know what I mean? There's no point in asking some questions like, let's look at both sides. If they're all on the one opinion, we just move right along. Maybe.
So let me see. I'm trying to find who alluded to it out in the chat. Let's see here. I think it was. I'm not sure who alluded to it out in the chat. I lost the message there. But so what would happen to the NRA if they? I guess it's a thing right now that they might lose their. I guess what is it called? Their their non-profit status, or their where they don't have to, I guess, pay taxes, or what is that called? I lost the question up there. They're going to lose their non-profit status.
Unless there's another word for it, but I think it's non-profit status.
Yeah, so if they lose their non-profit status, how is that going to affect the NRA? Because I guess they're in danger of losing that, right? Right now, they're as a non-profit organization, they're in danger of losing losing that status.
I'm scared of looking like an idiot and just asking a dumb question and wasting time. So I don't think I'd ask it that specifically. I would just say like that other question, like, is it salvageable? And then they can dig into it like that, right? Or, you know, we could peel that onion a little bit. Because if they all said it's not salvageable, you know what I mean, then asking them about the parts of the components.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess that would also fall under if New York disbands it completely.
Well, I'm not sure, and that's, again, I don't even know where to draw lines and stuff. Like, as you get into legal and potential, like, does an organization just lose its nonprofit, or does the organization disappear? Like, you know what I mean? Is it an organization that is this, or is it just a status, and you then have to petition to the next status, and they can just deny your change? So now you can't be what you are because it's not legal, and you haven't been approved to be anything else. So you're just in this weird limbo. Or is it like dissolved? Like, that's lawyer stuff. And I don't know if anybody that I'll be talking to is, you know, that level or that. And again, if everybody says, oh, of course it's salvageable, then why would we be talking about breaking it apart, or like what's, you know, after it dissolves? If they don't, none of them think it's going to dissolve, then that would be.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So we're thinking of questions for tomorrow's chat about the NRA. So the NRA annual meeting, just before the NRA annual meeting, we had a chat with Jeff Knox. And Jeff Knox's dad is Neil Knox, and he was the one that helped, pretty much coordinated the 77 member revolt, where the membership voted out the leadership at the time who was planning to leave to Colorado and become a less political entity, and basically was involved with the creation of the ILA. So his son wrote a book that is a accumulation of all of his dad's articles. His dad was a prolific writer. His son's a prolific writer. So he's intimately involved in, or intimately aware of the knowledge and the history of the NRA. And like I was saying, he knows all the players. He knows them all. Then we've got Pincus, who was, as I mentioned, just recently at the last meeting, he got up and was efforting to get Wayne LaPierre out of there. We've got Jared from Guns and Gadgets, who's a YouTube guy who does immense amount of effort on every state, but including the situations with the NRA on a daily, if not multiple daily basis. Like, seriously, probably the most effort that anybody's doing out there, minus the paid organizations, right? And then Sean from We Like Shooting, and those guys had put together a project after attending the NRA, ILA, or the NRA annual meetings. And when we talked to Sean, it turns out those guys are really adamant. They've been having some special edition shows just to talk about NRA. So these people are all content creators and authors and podcasters, stuff like that. And they're aware of the NRA, but they're definitely not NRA people. And that's why I guess we've been chatting about what questions I might ask, or what kind of format I might use for a 2-hour show with 4 or 5 panel members.
Looking out there on the what Slim had a question out there on what do we what would they consider the core focus of the NRA to be, and what would we like it to be? Is there a difference on opinion on what we see that their core focus is versus what they would like to see their core focus be?
I don't know if the second part of it, but I think the first one might be insightful, right? As far as like some bullet questions, just to kind of get everybody accustomed, because not everybody's going to know everybody on the panel. That might be the kind of introduction question that, like I say, gives you some insight to where they're at. But the part about where they'd like it to be, that's getting into it, just a chit chat type of thing. And I don't know, maybe towards the end, if after we talk about it or something, like I'll keep it in mind if they want to. So somebody also saying, where's the NRA going to be in 5 or 10 years? That's the same kind of question, right?
Yeah, that is kind of the same question.
I don't think you see any way to salvage the NRA as well as long as Wayne is in charge. I mean, I can't imagine anybody's going to answer that one that way. I mean, I'm assuming that's going to be a no-brainer, but
I think the people, I can't speak for all of them, but at least some of the people I know that you're going to have on there have already expressed their opinion about that, about Wayne LaPierre at least, right? I think at least several of them that we know how they feel about Wayne LaPierre. They've voiced that before, so I'd be more. I'm really interested in what do they think, not only about like what the future of the NRA is going to be or should be, but how can we affect it in a positive way to turn it into what we want? Like, what do they think might be the best ways that we can produce change within the NRA and effectively change the NRA?
Well, I like that. Then they all have a different insight, and even if their question, or even if their answer is, "There's nothing you could do," at least you've heard an actual answer to a thing, like a call to action or potential call to action.
And how could one get more involved with the NRA and, you know, not only with voting and all that, but ensure that we might get in a president or a CEO or board members that we want? And how do we spread the message of, you know, you might want to vote for this board member over this person or whatnot, or, you know, for the people running, because these are their stances. I hear very little about that. It's not, it doesn't get near the publicity of like a presidential election or something like that. So I don't always know these people's, you know, where they're coming from, their, you know, their feelings on the Second Amendment or on certain guns. I mean, it's just basically a couple names on a piece of paper, and it can be hard to be like, oh, who do I vote for here? Who do I want to, you know, get on the board? I don't know either of these people or really their stances, and sometimes Google's not even a help with that either. So I'd be curious on how can we spread the message of getting the right people elected to and put into the NRA, the kind of people that we would like to see there.
The longest yawn I've ever had in forever. So that's an indication to me that I'm super bored of the NRA, and I'll be talking about it for 2 hours tomorrow. So if it's okay with everybody, we'll pivot. I appreciate everybody's contributions there. Since it's all recorded, I will be lazy and go back and look at some of those and copy and paste them. And appreciate it, because that did help me out with putting some structure on the show tomorrow. Where do we take it from here? I am losing energy at a tremendous rate. Probably didn't drink enough caffeine.
Well, I don't know. Do we want to take it lighthearted?
Sure.
Best 1980s movie or TV shows. I see that you opened with an awesome song there for today's Daily Gun Show.
Yeah, you're on talking.
Yeah, probably the best 1980s TV show, I think, at least watching as a kid. I think I enjoyed that show more than any other. Growing up, you know, I can think of a lot of great shows like Airwolf, Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard, just a lot of great shows that were in the 80s. But that Simon and Simon, that had to have been my favorite show growing up as a kid. And I definitely appreciated the gunplay in that show.
So you like Simon and not the other Simon so much?
I like the Simon, yeah, with the Dodge truck.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody did. What about the one with the pink helicopter, the nerds, and the robot? They're the same time, same place, the same TV company, I think. You know what I'm talking about?
No, what show was that?
I think they were guys from Vietnam, and they had a helicopter that looked goofy, Jolly something, what do they call these things, that looked like a big nose, and then they painted it pink, and then they also had a robot. So they had like a robot and a helicopter in this show, and they went around fighting crime. They were pretty much Simon and Simon, except they were 3 dudes, and one of them was a nerd. So it was like Simon and Simon in a helicopter with a nerd. But my favorite...
It was Riptide, wasn't it? Are you thinking Riptide?
Yeah, I think it was Riptide.
Yeah, like, I never really got into that show, honestly.
Yeah. It was on. I think I seen it, but it was because it was between other shows or after a show or something like that.
Or it was going up against another show that I, you know, like really liked or something.
I would have never seen it though. What about I like Magnum PI. That was probably my favorite one of those type of shows.
Yeah, Magnum PI was definitely up there. Especially as I was getting older and older, then I started appreciating shows like that. Magnum PI. I mean, like he had a lot of insight. Like when they'd have those little scenes where like that inner voice was talking to himself, or I guess
Yeah,
talking. Yeah, I definitely. At first, when I was like super young, yeah, I didn't really appreciate that show. But as I grew older, I started to really get into that show.
TJ Hooker.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, I've always been a Captain Kirk fan, so.
Well, Heather Locklear.
Yeah, that too, right? Heather Locklear. Well, that was a great cop show. Yeah, that was just absolutely awesome. Hardcastle. What was that? Hardcastle and something or
I never watched that.
something at Hardcastle. That one wasn't bad either. I actually liked that one.
The mom was a spy. No, I never watched that one. Is that one?
I think it was. Yeah, I think his mom was a spy, and he went around with the one older guy, right? It was the guy with like the blonde curls, and he went around with the one older guy, basically just fighting bad guys, right? Let's see. Anyone else have any favorite '80s shows out there? I see A-Team. Yeah, A-Team was awesome. I just never understood why they couldn't hit anything.
Yeah, I watched 18 for a while, but then after a while, it just got ridiculous.
I probably watched A-Team mainly for probably Mr. T. I mean, he was
for the car chases and stuff. I mean, that was definitely the cool stuff back then, watching car chases.
Oh, Mr. T had the van. Like, he was the guy. He had the coolest van and just, I definitely liked Mr. T as a kid.
Centurion saying Fall Guy. I did watch my fair share of Fall Guy, I guess.
Fall Guy was awesome. Man, there were so many good shows. Rockford Files.
Well, come on. That's a whole nother level. I thought we were talking action shows and shit. Because if you're talking like Rockford Files and Quincy and shit, like, well, that's some of the best TV.
I was just kind of thinking of like 80s shows that in general, just, like 80s just TV shows that, I don't know, that we grew up with or whatnot or liked or, I guess some people, they might have already been older when those shows were coming out and some people might be too young to remember. Maybe had to watch them on syndication. But man, like shows like Miami Vice and just, there was so many good shows. Man, and unfortunately, I don't see near the good shows. I mean, the funny thing is, most of these shows were all on during the same period of time.
Well, the thing about that then is they were cookie cutter. I mean, they had different characters in them, but they were the same show over and over and over and over. Nowadays, there's some really weird, different stuff. It's not always good, but there's way more variety of stuff now.
I think that's one of the things that made the '80s shows so good is you didn't necessarily have to think, and they weren't necessarily trying to make you think. It was literally just entertainment, And
there's hardly any messages in it, or if there were messages like, "Don't be mean to an animal," or like, "Hey, don't drink and drive," or like just dumb messages,
or just getting political or stuff like that. I mean, MacGyver. The Fall Guy, I love the Fall Guy. Oh man, like there was even there was like some really really lighthearted comedy. I remember as a kid growing up too, like Silver Spoons and Punky Brewster even. I mean that stuff was all on when I was just a little kid. I grew up watching that stuff and just being super young. I'm curious.
Everybody with links is showing up after the end of the show, I guess.
Well, we're starting talking about 1980s TV shows now. They're like, oh. No, you know what made Simon and Simon probably the best show, though? It had a Jennings 22 in it. It had one of those little Jennings in it. I think that was the only time I've ever seen one of those guns on TV. I don't know.
And this kid is saying that show V. Did you like that show?
I don't remember V. Someone was talking about that the other night, and I don't remember that show at all. I must have completely missed that show.
You're not going to get us sick in here, are you?
I might. Better stand back. But I came in to say my favorite 80s show is Unsolved Mysteries.
Ooh.
Yeah. How do you compete with Robert Stack?
That was like a whole different type of show. That was a show that did make you think, and and I think that show actually solved some mysteries, didn't it?
Oh, dude, a ton. And there was always like, I think that's why I'm like paranoid now because I'm like, oh, everyone's trying to kill you because I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries. But yeah, great show. A lot of like historical stuff too. Like they would even do like, like the Titanic or like just like different like old mysteries and stuff. But yeah, like the crimes around town or whatever. But it's a good show. I still watch it. It's on Amazon Prime.
No,
Oh,
that's.
what nice.
Did you say Miami Vice?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Miami.
Sonny and Crockett, like this.
Also, the Golden Girls.
I actually watched The Golden Girls when I was a kid. Like
Dude,
that
it's
was.
funny.
It was. I remember my grandma would be watching that, and I'd go and sit with her and actually just sit down and watch it. Like, even though that wasn't a action, like it was just so different compared, I guess, to everything else I watched on TV during that time. It was just like that little bit of change you needed, so everything else wasn't the same show, right?
Yeah, it's one of my fave shows. I don't know many 80s shows, I don't think, because I was born in the 80s. So I was like a little baby watching TV. But yeah, I don't know.
Some of the shows that I really remember growing up are Tour of Duty and Dallas. Probably two of my more adult favorite shows when I was a kid that were coming on like maybe like prime time, like 8 o'clock at night or something. And, I would have to like put a pillow underneath my door so my parents wouldn't see the TV light on.
Because you're
Right?
watching.
Yeah, so I could like stay up and watch those shows, the adult shows. You know, those are probably some of the first shows I was like, oh, I'm not going to bed. I'm staying up to watch this.
Did they ever figure out who killed that guy?
Oh, who killed JR's dad?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think so. I think I think at one point they thought they knew, and then it turned out they didn't. But
Oh, damn. I just remembered a cool show China Beach.
I don't remember that. What was that show?
Hot Vietnam nurse, and then a bunch of Vietnam stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Vietnam nurses and stuff. They had like a hospital or something.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
What's her name? She's been in like other stuff. She's been in movies and stuff. Delaney.
Oh yeah, Dana Delaney.
That might have been her first show, though.
The theme song was Reflections by the Supremes. You know how I feel about Motown, so it's super sold.
Yeah, it was super good. It was basically like a TV show version of Good Morning Vietnam and all those movies. But well done, I think.
Yeah, I used to watch that as a little kid. Oh, good show that.
I'm gonna have to look that show up. I don't even, like that. Doesn't even ring a bell at all. I totally missed that.
I bet you it would. I would watch it. I would recommend it. I mean,
it's pretty short too. I don't think it was very long. I think I remember seeing it on DVD like years later, and it was like 4 seasons or something like that.
Like Tour of Duty, I think that was only on for about 3 seasons, and that was probably like and this was, I think that was in the late 80s, maybe even going into the 90s a little, but that was probably my favorite show at that time on TV is when Tour of Duty came out.
Tour of Duty. Oh, now we're in like some military shows. Did you guys ever see Major Dad?
no.
That was a pretty good one.
Major Dad, that one doesn't sound familiar either.
And it was a comedy with a guy who was the drill sergeant or something. He had like a bunch of kids at home. Somehow he was a drill sergeant. He also went home.
Yeah, he was like some, I don't know, high-ish, maybe a major Marine. And, well, yeah, his Major Dad.
Well, no,
and he met this woman.
He just had like he was an officer, so he always had like a, what do you call it, bus driver type of hat on.
Yeah, he was some kind of officer. But anyway, he meets this woman and she had a bunch of kids. So then he hears this like single Marine that's now, a dad of like, I even want to say it was like all girls or something. So it was like even more like, ah. But
Oh, okay. That's the same guy from Simon and Simon, the
Gerald
McRaney.
Grady.
Yeah,
A good one.
yeah. That's the. Oh, okay, yeah, I have seen that before. Okay, I know which one you're talking about. I totally forgot about that show.
So John Z is weird. He said Little House on the Prairie.
I mean, I could get behind that, I guess. But
So you're a girl, and my grandparents watched it because my grandma wanted to watch it. My grandpa couldn't do nothing about it.
I watched Little House on the Prairie because I think on Sunday mornings that was the only thing on TV at that time.
It was on at night. Well, at least for me, it was on at night.
Yeah, for me, it was on Sunday mornings, and like you either had basically news or something or infomercials, and then you had Little House on the Prairie. But
Ever watched his Murder, She Wrote?
oh my God, I have a
I
funny.
have seen probably every single episode, but that was only because I was probably playing Legos on the floor in front of the TV and my grandma was watching it, so I couldn't do nothing about it.
So I only recently learned that it was called Murder, She Wrote. I thought it was some kind of weird word like Murder Shiro, like two words or something. And I would always hear it as a kid, and I was like, "What is that word?" And then probably like I don't know, 10 years ago, I saw it written out, and I was like, "Oh, it's Murder She Wrote, not like Murder Hero or something like that." So that's my dumb story.
All right, the next one that makes Dead Horse go, oh, that one is going to win something off the patch panels. So, Angelina, which patch panel is he going to be playing?
Wait, what? What are we picking?
No. Well, you're going to pick which patch panel, but people are going to keep saying, we're going to say 70s and 80s TV shows, because I'm assuming Dead Horse is seeing stuff from the 70s and reruns, because we saw rerun stuff while the 80s stuff was happening.
Right.
First one that can make Dead Horse go, oh yeah, that show. I love that show. That's how you're going to win the patch panel. So Angelina, in the meantime, is going to pick panel 1 through 6.
I'm going to pick panel 5.
Right.
Feel very confident about that.
And,
all right, going to wow Dead Horse.
From a different era. So what's going on? Are we going to wow Dead Horse?
Voyagers, I love the 80s show Voyagers.
I don't remember that one. Voyagers? Let's see.
Oh, I got one for you, Dead Horse. Mork and Mindy.
Oh yeah, I know that show.
Yeah.
I'm a
classic.
Big Robin Williams fan. I got his painting hanging up above my kitchen table. So.
Oh, nice.
Huge Robin Williams fan, so I definitely know more community. Anyone else throwing stuff out there?
What do we got? Oh, Clover says Cops began in 1989. That's a good show. You got to mention that one.
I never really watched that kind of stuff.
Knight Rider.
How about BJ and the Bear? BJ and the Bear?
BJ and the Bear?
Dude walk around in the truck with a monkey? BJ McCain is best friend Bear?
I don't remember that show at all. I'm looking at it right now. I do not remember that show.
What?
Nope.
Angelina? BJ and the Bear?
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm looking at a picture of it right now. I don't remember a show with this guy and a monkey. What is this?
Maybe this will help. Bear's the monkey. That's my theme song. I'd walk around town. Everything's going my way. I love monkey friend and driving a truck. Best theme ever.
Nah, I don't remember that show at all.
Oh man. Anybody else remember BJ and the Bear? BJ McKay, his best friend Bear. Hawaii Five-0 is way better than Chips, but Chips is okay. Hawaii Five-0 is epic. Best shows ever made.
Hawaii Five-0 was great.
Buck Rogers.
Yep, Buck Rogers.
Nobody knows BJ and the Bear. That's amazing. They're all young.
I mean, I kind of want to know.
And that's where you knew the monkey was coming.
Was there an actual monkey on the show?
Hell yeah, I drove around a truck with a monkey. The monkey was dressed up like stuff all the time. You ever remember Lancelot Link, Sacred Chip? It was Lancelot Link. It was the 70s when monkeys, they still put peanut butter in their mouth and made them dress up like people. Awesome. Anybody remember Lancelot Link?
What show?
Lancelot Link, Sacred Chip?
No.
Oh my goodness. You're welcome.
What are all these monkey shows?
Secret Chip. Wow, that sounds exciting.
There's the girl monkey. That's her. She was hot for a monkey. That was the old man monkey. He had a lot of wisdom and advice. Look at his mustache. He was old.
Yeah, I simply can't wait.
That's Lance Link. Driving
Now I'm
go-karts.
going to be
They ride
binge watching
horses and shit. What?
I'm going to be binge watching monkey shows now.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Oh, they're hilarious. They're the best. There's the bad lady monkey, and then there was bad guy monkey, like a German Nazi monkey. And then, yeah, they put him in all kinds of clothes. They'd have him ride horses. This one had a bird. They're on boats half the time. I'm sure probably horrible how many monkeys died making this TV show. Every morning it was on. For me, you'd have to get up, listen to the farm, corn garbage, and then Lancelot Link would be on. And what's the show where it's cartoons but the mouth moved? Johnny Quest. Those two were an hour at like 5 in the morning or something. If you like, no one in the right mind could get up that early, but you could get up that early and watch monkeys talking to each other. How many people in the chat remember Lancelot Link, Secret Chip? Put a monkey icon in there if you remember Lancelot Link. Anyway, peanut butter in the mouth, and they talked. Awesome. Nobody's gonna win nothing today.
Well, see,
Not just a bunch of cartoons and stuff.
I'm looking out there in the chat here, and I'm typing in all the ones I don't recognize to see if I've seen them before, and if it makes me go, oh wow, I remember that. I haven't found one yet, but Herculoids, what's that one? You guys remember Herculoids?
Yeah, it kind of looked like Conan. He had a wife, and then they had the schmooze, and like white marshmallows that ran around with them. They were like R2D2, except they were magic mushrooms or magic marshmallows, maybe.
Oh, Alf. Vanessa Kitty had a good suggestion with Alf.
Of Alf?
Yeah, Alf. Alien life form.
There's a Clint Eastwood movie with a monkey, but it's the orangutan type of monkey that can kill people by ripping their face off. This monkey, BJ and the Bear, was a real monkey like Lancelot Link. He wasn't an orangutan. He was a monkey. Or at least he wasn't the big, like, Clyde. No, that was not the same kind of monkey. These are Lancelot Link and the BJ and the Bear monkeys were the black monkeys that don't have a tail, but they look like baby gorillas maybe, where every which way but loose was that big orange kind of monkey that can get mean and rip your face off. Fraggle Rock, Animal. I already said the Fall Guy like 1,000 times. Coneheads. Nobody's gonna make Dead Horse Amazed. Wonder Woman. They're just saying stuff now. These aren't good shows. BJ was a chimpanzee? Oh, okay, chimpanzee, not an orangutan. Gotcha. Well, I guess it's gonna just end.
Oh, I think I found one. The Greatest American Hero. I did not know what they were talking about, and when I pulled it up, I have seen this. I do remember this now. The Greatest American Hero. That was not on TV very long, was it? Do you remember that show?
Oh yeah, I watched it only because it was something, but I didn't like it that much. I didn't look forward to it. I did watch it.
Yeah, I guess I could say the same. I think I saw it on syndication probably years after it went off air.
Dynasty.
Fraggle Rock? I don't remember Fraggle Rock. What was Fraggle Rock?
You don't remember Fraggle Rock? That was HBO though. It wasn't really TV. It was like Muppets. Some of them were tiny, little tiny mice Muppets, and other ones were them big ass ones that are like a costume that somebody jumps into. And it was some sort of like weird hole in the ground that all these little goofy looking critters, like Muppets. I think they were at war with each other or something. I don't remember. I think somebody would like look down a hole, and then they'd start singing, and then there'd be like a whole episode of them at war, and then it would end with that person walking away from the hole, or something like that. They sang. It was like Muppets. They weren't really at war. They were just fighting with each other all the time. Again.
Maminal?
That was some guy who would change into like a werewolf, except he would change into like just other mammals. Like I'm a porpoise, and now I'm a panther, and now I'm like a chipmunk. He would just change randomly into other type of things besides werewolves.
Man, there's so I thought I knew like my 80s TV shows or 70s, 80s TV shows. I thought I knew them, but man, like there's so many out here. I'm like, what? I've never seen that. I've never even heard of it.
All right, so try to go. You're looking at a list there.
Yeah,
Somebody has to stump me with one I haven't heard of then, and it has to be one that's actually a thing and not someone you made up.
A real one?
Yeah, I've heard of Mama's House and Full House. I don't have to have watched them to know they exist. Since you can't, it seems like we are not able to impress Dead Horse.
Yeah, he's very unimpressible. Oh, okay, let me think.
I'm gonna go get water because I don't really want to drink coffee. I have a weird situation where I have to stay up for 6 hours.
The Man from Atlantis. I've never heard of that one. Let's see what this one is.
That's Bobby Ewing had a tragic boating accident and turned into a squid, and then he was a man from Atlantis.
Oh, it is Bob. Wow, I've never heard of this show. An Atlantis survivor works with the crew to study oceanography. Huh. Yep, don't remember.
You know how exciting? You know how you think, oh, Aquaman, and then you watch the new Aquaman movie, and you're like, wow, they made Aquaman exciting, right?
Yeah.
And you watch The Man from Atlantis, you're like, oh, The Man from Atlantis. Atlantis is like a giant civilization that crashed into the ocean. That's going to be awesome. It's like the opposite. They made it like boring as hell. I didn't like it.
What about that one with Bruce Willis?
Moonlighting?
She's the sheriff with what's her face? Yeah, I remember she's the sheriff.
With
Moonlighting? We already talked about
Sybil Shepherd or Sybil Shepherd?
Yes,
Like
She's the sheriff? No, was the chick from Three's Company, I think. You're talking about Moonlighting as Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah. Moonlighting.
Laugh-In was way earlier than we're talking about. Hong Kong Phooey? That's an awesome one. Did you ever watch Hong Kong Phooey?
Yeah, that was a cartoon, right?
Right, yeah. Angelina, Hong Kong Phooey?
No, I've never heard of that.
So Hong Kong Phooey was his dog that was also a janitor and how do you spell Phooey? F-U-Y? No, F-U-E-Y. He was a dog that was a janitor at a police station in the 1970s. He also fought crime.
This was a cartoon?
Oh, hell yeah. It was awesome.
Sarge? No. Rosemary, the telephone operator? No. Remember human eye. He's got style of moving style and a heart that just won't stop. But they're going to scrub his super night with a Hong Kong Phooey jump.
There you go. That's how you get copyrighted on your YouTube channel, because of a show that was like older than most of y'all.
I like that.
Yeah, Hong Kong Fu was pretty awesome. You couldn't hardly see it. It was on with that stupid gorilla, Magilla Gorilla. So they always put that on because the Hong Kong Fu is too violent or something.
The Master, a ninja TV show. You
Yeah,
remember
the
that?
Master was okay. Yeah, the Master was sort of good. I mean, because at the time you didn't really get a real ninja show, and that was the closest thing to a ninja show. It wasn't good, but it was the only ninja show on TV.
What about that show where they were like the helicopter pilots, like the Cold War time?
You mean police or military?
No, they were in the military.
No, anything like that.
Airwolf.
Those were police. They weren't military.
I thought they were military.
Wasn't that just like LA Police? Or was that Blue Thunder? I know Blue Thunder was LA Police. Wasn't Airwolf also, or was Airwolf military?
I
never
thought,
was
He was
I could be
X.
wrong, but I
He was
thought
private.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I thought they were some kind of like crazy missions and
I never watched Airwolf because it was a fake passenger airplane. At least that other one sort of looked like, Blue Thunder looked like a Cobra or something.
Well, Blue Thunder was just a movie, though, right? Wasn't it?
It was a movie, but it had a silent mode, which is insane. And then the other
It
one.
could listen to you through walls. Remember, it could listen to your whole conversation and see you through walls and all that. That was like back in the '80s. Like that had that kind of technology back then.
oh man, I got two. Number 1, Happy Days. Number 2, Designing Women.
Number 1, Happy Days was like the 50s or something. And
No, it started in like the mid to late 70s.
mid 70s maybe. It barely was on anymore by the time I was watching TV. It was the old, like weird, old, like the kids were older Happy Days by the time I was watching it. It was before my time. But
The Shark.
what's the other one? Designing Women?
Designing Women, yeah.
We ran home to watch Designing Women in the evenings.
That was a good one. Suzanne Sugarbaker.
It's like watching Mama's Family.
Oh, Mama's Family was good too. That was all on Lifetime.
Fantasy
Vision for Women.
That's incredible. That was a good one.
Curiosity Show. You guys remember the Curiosity Show?
No, in the 80s?
Yeah, wasn't that in the? That's when I saw it was in the '80s. So I think it came out in the '80s. And like these two guys would appear every week, and they would have this like really cool like science stuff that you could do at home, like how do you make a rubber band do this with a ball kind of a thing, and just they'd make you think, right? And it was all kind of sciencey and.
I remember seeing this. There was a thing on Nickelodeon with some old guy, and he would do stuff, Mr. Wizard. And then
yeah, Mr. Wizard.
he was from the olden days, so he was on TV like at some point in the black and white days, and then Nickelodeon got it back being super old. But I never seen the black and white version of that show.
I only saw the like newer.
So obnoxious as saying Solid Gold. There was plenty of Saturday afternoons I watched Solid Gold after the cartoons before like switching over to Godzilla or something like that.
The Love Boat.
In Search of. That was a pretty good show. I'm sure Dead Horse watched the shit out of that.
In Search of, that does not sound familiar at all. In Search.
Leonard Nimoy doing all the conspiracy and alternate history stuff you can think of. Is the Sphinx really a Sphinx?
Oh.
In Search of Bigfoot. That kind of shit.
Yeah, I do remember that now. As soon as you said Leonard Nimoy, I was like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that was a good show.
I feel like I've won the patch like 3 times. So does somebody else owe me a patch? Or how does it, like, just give myself one? Like picking one?
No, I think I win it because when you click on that link there in the side, then you're going to be like, oh, I remember this show.
Oh, okay. Curiosity Show.
Yeah.
So Dead Horse is sending.
Not that easy.
He's sending
I
Dead
really need help.
These guys that appear like every week, like on the weekends, and then like sit there and like really teach you like something sciency or like really educate you, but like in a fun way and like stuff you could do at home as a little kid, right? Like with just stuff around your house, like all sorts of cool stuff. And then you'd be like going and showing your parents, like, look what I can do.
I can, man, no, I don't remember seeing it, but I can, oh man, I don't remember seeing it. It looks like it's 80s though. It looks like it's like an old digital tape or whatever, right? It
Or
doesn't
VHS,
look like
yeah.
film or whatever, you know.
It was definitely in the age of VCRs, that's for sure.
Or conservatives, he said in search of 10 minutes ago. But problem is, in search of doesn't look like a thing, so he capitalized it. It looked more like a separate thing. All right, well, let's try the worst show. Clover just typed in Max Headroom. I don't know if he was thinking ahead or whatever, but what's the worst show then? Maybe there's some way, because you're not challenging us. We know all these shows. Sledgehammer, of course. Everybody knows Sledgehammer. The Avengers was at least the 70s, but probably the 60s. But Avengers are pretty awesome. And you could watch the Avengers on PBS every once in a while. Or was it? Yeah, I think on PBS every once in a while. Avengers are pretty awesome. Like, you know, PBS back in the day would be boring as shit most of the time at night. Like in the daytime, you'd have Sesame Street and shit for babies. And then there'd be crap during the day, if I remember right. Every once in a while, there was something like an alternative to cartoons that wasn't like eating medicine or something. But then at night, it got shitty again for like parents and just shit, right? Like classical music or like reading poetry, just garbage. And every once in a while, there'd be like the boring ass England show. And instead of being boring ass England shit, it would be the Avengers. That's what I remember. And it would be like, holy shit, a cool like spy show instead of the garbage they're usually putting on. I hated PBS at night.
I'm trying to think of like the worst show of the, what, are we just saying just 80s or 70s and 80s?
Yeah, because whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to say the worst show because it kind of ruined the show that it was connected to for me. I'm going to have to say Aftermath.
I didn't like MASH either, but Aftermath was the worst. Yeah, that was bad. That was
really, really bad.
It was really bad. Mods are worst is the Monkeys. I mean, yeah, I didn't love the Monkeys. I had to watch the Monkeys because there's nothing else on. Didn't they play cartoons or something once in a while during the Monkeys? Or am I crazy?
I think they might have. I think they might have had some short cartoons.
I did not like the Monkeys either, but I wouldn't say it's the worst show ever. Are they saying Buck Rogers is the worst movie? Or worst show? I didn't mind Buck Rogers. Twiggy. And what's her face?
No, I didn't mind Buck Rogers at all. I mean, I watched that show.
You guys hear something clicking, like if there's something hanging and like shaking every time the table moves? I don't know if it's coming through the mic or not. I'm assuming you're not hearing it because it would be annoying.
No, I don't think I heard.
The Partridge Family is the worst show? I didn't like the
Oh,
Partridge
that's a great show.
You like that show?
Yeah, like you remember Nick at Night, like Monkeys Monday, Lucy Tuesday, Bewitched Be Wednesday.
Oh, no,
I know
definitely
Green
like
Acres
that.
was Friday.
I didn't like the Partridge Family. Made no sense to me. It just made no sense at all. So
I just thought David Cassidy was cute. But I was
Maude?
like 13 when I was watching it, so it was
Maude?
pretty much targeted to me.
Maude was pretty bad. Enrique saying Maude.
I've never seen
I
that.
don't remember Maude.
Maude was an offshoot of something. Maybe Archie Bunker. Oh yeah, she was just like some angry lady. You know, it was like a female version of Archie Bunker, I guess. She was just like always complaining. Somebody come in, she'd be mad at him. Eight is Enough is pretty bad. Yeah, I never really watched it. That was super drama. Did anybody ever watch Eight is Enough?
Nope.
It was like 8 people live together.
I don't know. Was that like a spinoff of like the Brady Bunch or something?
Oh no. It was similar. It was 8 kids, I think, and then some old guy was their dad, and it was always like let's learn lessons for an hour. But it was on at night. Like Brady Bunch was on in the afternoon. That was on like an hour-long TV show, like on Sundays or something. That's like you had to watch that kind of shit if you got in trouble or you got punished. Joni and Chachi, that one's pretty bad. Did you ever watch Joni and Chachi? You liked Happy Days?
No.
No, because I didn't like Chachi. I
Did
thought
you
it
like
was
me?
super annoying.
Everybody on Happy Days. It was like an effort to see who could be the most annoying all the time on that show.
I only like the Fonz in at first because after like the show goes on, then he's just this old creepy guy that's hanging out with all these like younger people.
When
And
he's
it's like,
no longer mean or like angry or anything, and he's like the nice Fonz, then it's just weird.
yeah, like it's this whole like shift, and it's like, what's going on here? But yeah, it gets weird at a point, but like the early episodes are kind of cool. But that fucking song, dude, jeez.
I can't remember if it came out in the 80s or maybe the early 90s, but I do remember a Flash TV show that was pretty bad.
The Flash, like the superhero?
Yeah, like the superhero. And I think it had the same guy like who played the American hero or whatever. And I remember that show being really bad. I remember being super excited for it, and then as a kid just being like, oh, this show's really, really bad. Even as a kid, I did not enjoy it.
General saying Full House was the worst. I agree. That show was pretty bad.
No. So you don't watch Fuller House then, the reboot?
I'd have no interest in watching any of the houses. No.
Oh man, I'm all about the houses.
The laugh track type of shows, I was never a big.
Wasn't there a Westworld TV show after the movie that came out back then that was pretty bad?
That I don't remember.
I think there was a Westworld TV show that might have only been out for 1 or 2 seasons. I remember seeing at least 1 or 2 episodes of that, and that was pretty bad.
Vance is saying Benny Hill, but Benny Hill isn't bad. You're not saying that's a bad show. I'm just saying he's seen it on PBS. WKRP? See, now they're not talking about bad shows again, are they? WKRP was freaking awesome.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
All right, well, now we're just saying a bunch of names. We're not. I don't know. I guess we do.
I say we let Angelina pick where we go next. Put the pressure on her.
LA Law. Is that why you went into law?
Oh, you mean La La? La La? No, that's not why I did that, but that was an okay show.
You know, when we were talking about good shows in the 80s, I'm surprised. I think it was probably one of the most popular shows, maybe only behind MASH, was Cheers.
Oh, Cheers. I've been watching Cheers recently.
Cheers is like Seinfeld for me. Like if I never see one again, I'm okay. Yeah, I've seen them, and I watched them in reruns probably, but I'm done.
I think Cheers was so good because they had such a different cast in it that like everyone could relate, like knew someone that was like one of those characters, right? Like, oh, like that guy's like the guy I work with, and that girl's like someone I know, and that's I think that's what made that show so good.
It was just pure vanilla marshmallow, nothing. Like it never, you know what I mean? Like MASH was always trying to prove some point or bug you about something or teach you a lesson. Like Cheers never tried to do shit except make you laugh all the damn time. It never, it never pissed anybody off really. There wasn't like the abortion episode of Cheers.
Jack Ripper. Anyone know what TV show I'm going to say if I say the name Jack Ripper?
I know Jack Tripper.
Or was it Jack Tripper or Jack? Yeah, it might have been Jack Tripper. Right? You know what show I'm talking about?
If you're talking about upstairs, then yeah, it would be Tripper.
No, the Three's Company, right?
Yeah, he was upstairs, right? So
yeah.
Clover saying he could never handle Frasier. Yeah, Frasier's the same way. I watched him, but if I never see him again, I don't care. I like him better as that blue monkey.
You know, I've seen Kelsey Grammer in some movies I really, really liked him in, but like Frasier and like some like even in Cheers and stuff, I never really cared for him until I saw some.
Cheers, he was horrible. I didn't like him at all. Cheers. Frasier was better than Cheers, but Frasier was still pretty. Yeah, you have to be in the mood for Frasier, right?
Yeah, I think I was just too young for that, for Frasier to get into that. I bet I probably enjoy it a lot more now if I went back and watched that.
Benny Hill or Monty Python? Who wins? Let's have a weird British comedy off. So, voting for Benny Hill versus Monty Python.
Benny Hill.
I'm going
more Monty Pythons, I think. But
I'm gonna have to go with Benny Hill too, because Monty Python was funny and all, but a lot of that, like, there's only so many times I think I can watch Monty Python where I could probably watch the same Benny Hill just one episode over and over again and still laugh at it.
is Benny Hill alive still?
Oh no, I don't think so. No, I think he passed away.
Yeah, I'm sure he's dead.
I want to say it was like in the early 2000s or something.
Oh no, it says 92. I guess I haven't been paying attention. Probably caught by somebody, right? So I don't know, are we counting out there? It looks like Benny Hill took off at the end. So we got Python. That's 3 Pythons and 2 Benny Hills.
One of those pythons is really a Benny Hills. One of the pythons is really a Benny Hill because of the way he worded it. He said Hill crushes python.
Oh, thank you. So we got a python, and a python, and then we got a hill, and a hill. It says Benny Hill died alone and was not found for a long time due to the air conditioner keeping the smell down. See, that's why you want to set a set of we call it incendiary charges that go off in a 4-hour timer. So if you ever do kick the bucket, 4 hours later, everything's gone. Or, don't, whatever. Probably illegal.
Oh, Night Court. Clover says out there, that was a start for so many great comedians came out of Night Court. Oh, boy. I mean, they had just, even just a lot of the smaller, I guess, co-stars or guest stars they would have on that show who would be playing, like, someone who was just arrested or in court for whatnot. A lot of people made their start on Night Court. A lot of famous comedians nowadays.
All right. Well, we just talked about the daily old ass TV show. What do we got? Good idea, bad idea?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't have one though. That's the problem. I'm looking. Try to come up with something that's an idea. Good idea, bad idea. Leaving food and water in your vehicle for issues that you might have. Angelina?
Good idea, but I'd say cycle out that water.
What do you mean cycle out the water? What kind of intervals?
I don't know. However fast you drink water, I guess. I mean, if it's hot, you should probably get it out of there sooner because, you know, bacon in that plastic. That can't be good for you, right? But I don't know if it's just like some kind of weird paranoid thing.
No, I'm the same way. I don't think people up north have to worry about that so much or don't think about it. But when you drink water that's gross and you're like, this has been cooking in this bottle for like 3 months, it's probably gross now.
Yeah, and it's got like a plasticky taste sometimes.
It's good still for like washing hands or like pouring over your head or something. So it's not like you're going to throw it away. But yeah, you're saying drink the water every once in a while, put new water in there.
Yeah, like go through it and just don't have like, you know, oh, I've had this water sitting in my trunk for 3 years.
Food? You leave food in your car in case you get stuck in your traffic?
I
love
don't.
so much out there?
I do not, but I probably should have like a granola bar or something in there at least, but I don't.
You would think like, oh, well, these people can just stuck and get stuck in gridlock traffic. Something could happen and they just have to abandon their car, just like in that movie Falling Down, and then they just walk off to some store or whatever. But what you don't realize, those movies never show you that you're driving up and down over like hills and mountains and shit. Like there's potential you could be on gridlock like 2 miles, 4 miles from the closest like buildings, which is another 2 miles from any kind of restaurant, which may or may not be in a good part of town.
Yep, actually, there was a time where I got, we were stranded on the Grapevine, which is up to 5 because it snowed. We were stranded there for probably about 5 hours before the CHP moved us, so that probably would have been a good opportunity to have like a granola bar or something in there. Because you couldn't get anywhere. There's like literally nothing around you.
And that's a thing too, because you probably don't have the same issues we got with heat, but Clover's saying a Little Debbie or a Twinkie, that's crazy. And if you want a mushed up, cooked, gross thing, then right, but you wouldn't be able to do that in Arizona. That would be gross, or it would probably explode, right? I'd probably bake in your glove box and explode. Dead horse, food, water, good idea, bad idea. Leave them in your vehicle all the time.
Water is definitely a good idea, especially where I live. I don't know about changing it out like very often if it's kept in a cool, dark place. I think sunlight might have a lot to do with the taste or stuff like that. But if it's kept in your trunk, I mean, I've had bottles in my trunk before for, at least 6 months that I still ended up drinking, and I didn't really have a problem with it. It was still water. It was still a sealed bottle.
Yeah, but the problem is, imagine if I left something, and I was just checking the van the other day. What temperature? It's only like, it's not even 100 yet down here. So it's like maybe 90s or something during the day, but not even high 90s. It's like been pretty decent. 80s, 90 something maybe. How hot you think the van is?
Oh, probably 20 degrees hotter than that.
Yeah, like 110. So when it gets to be like 100 and something outside, whatever's in that van is just baking. I might as well put it in a toaster oven, right? Put it on medium high, because it just bakes it, even if it's in the back. So Vanessa Kitty, I think, said water in an insulated container. Like, yeah, but I got to do what Angelina does. Like, you put water in there, and I can't go anywhere, driving anywhere without drinking a thing of water. So I'll put like 12 of them in the back. One goes to the dog, one goes to me. We come home, that's one to me. We'd go someplace longer, 2 to the dog, 4 to me. So we go through them pretty quick. But anyhow, food.
I don't carry any kind of food in my car, like just to have it in there. I do have a Boy Scouts of America book in my car that tells me I can eat things like dandelions and all sorts of stuff you wouldn't think were necessarily edible to, survive off of. So, but I don't like food is what I'd be mainly concerned about, spoiling and stuff like that. And water, we can go 2-3 days without water, but food we might be able to go a week or more. So this hasn't been, I don't know, that's never just been a concern for me to keep in my car.
It's three, I forget. It's rule of threes, I think. So you're wrong. You need to keep food in the car. It's crazy. Granola bars. So I think that relatively over here wins, because I keep a small tote with bottled water, right? We all want bottled water. Granola bars, Pop-Tarts, and MREs. So there's all kinds of stuff. I don't know about cans if it gets cold or super hot, But MREs for sure, because most of the worst that'll happen is the package will get kind of swollen. Especially you have to probably worry about elevation issues too. People sometimes don't think about, we can drive. I think I can drive 7,000 miles or 7,000 feet up from here in like an hour, and that will take a bottle from being normal to being squished, right? So it's the other way around too. So sometimes you got to worry about that kind of thing. But I think you can get food that'll be fairly long term. What about your jerkies, your nuts? You ever seen MRE sealed nuts? Like peanuts, or there's quite a few of them actually now where they're like finger food, like snack type of thing, but like peanuts where they're like you can't really smash them. But
No,
sealed,
not the peanuts.
but sealed in like an MRE thing, just same as like their crackers or something. That really heavy foil MRE material.
Yeah.
There's a place called in Phoenix, and it's around the rest of the country. Well, in other states, but in Phoenix, the only place in Arizona we got it is Phoenix, and it's called, I want to say Bevco or something, but it's not that. There's some chain of grocery store that's kind of large. It's not quite as big as like a Walmart. It's about as big as one of the mini Walmarts, but it's a chain of stores. Oh shit, what's going on here? And anyway, it's run by the employees, and in their bulk section, you son of a bitch. In their in their food section, or in their bulk section, they've got the fucking fucker. So that's how you get distracted when somebody buys an H&K MP5K and then texts it to you in the middle of your live show. And it's like, look what I got. Anyway, so you can buy those things there, and they were like 30 cents or something. They had peanut butter. I don't think they're consistent, but if anybody knows the name of that chain, it's a co-op. Yeah, they're the employees on it.
Oh, Winco?
Winco. Yeah, thanks. You got them out there?
Yeah, there's like one around here, but they're kind of few and far between.
I think we have Winco here. I think I've seen trucks that say that on them.
They have some pretty interesting stuff there usually. I've only been a couple times, but like they got like MRE pieces and like all kinds of like obscure like international things. Kind of a cool store.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we have several Winco foods here. So yeah, I don't think I've ever been inside of one. Like I think I've seen their trucks driving down the road and stuff here, but I don't think I've ever even been in one of these stores. So that's a place I should check out.
Absolutely.
Now you guys were talking about like the taste and like just water going bad, like being in that kind of heat. Like how does this food handle like 140-degree heat being baked in a car or something, or every day for like how often do you gotta change out that food?
That's a great question. Yeah, so that's probably something that shouldn't last more than a year, right?
Yep. Like the granola bars, they usually end up like I'll bring it in for lunch or like I give it to someone. So I'd say I probably put another one in my car like, I don't know, every 2 weeks.
Oh, I leave it in there longer than that, but mine is like MRE stuff. I have just some meals from MREs, and then I really like that idea of the granola bars. I don't know about the Pop-Tarts so much, because even if I don't really like Pop-Tarts, but when I have eaten Pop-Tarts, they always seem to get smashed and you're eating like parts of Pop-Tarts or something. But granola bars, and I like nuts because you can't, unless they get stepped on or something, nuts, like you're still eating a peanut or whatever. I like mixed nuts or whatever, you're still eating a cashew or whatever. Where if you get like crackers or chips or something, you're eating crumbs.
Is it a thing to kind of think about what food to keep in your car, something that you could eat maybe while driving and eat while having to walk, hike, stuff like that? Because some foods might be more difficult than others to eat while driving or eat while walking or hiking or something like that, right?
That's why I don't keep like soup in my car anymore.
And how much food should you keep in your car? So it's like, it's going to be different for, like per person, right? So you got to think if you have a family of 5, it's going to be different than like a family of 2 or, family of 1 or something. So how much food do you keep extra, even if you're just like just one guy? Do you keep extra in case, there, when that situation arises, you have extra for maybe someone else? Or like, what's the how much food should you keep in there? Like, how many days worth? Do we go by days or meals? How do we what do we say that how do we label that?
I think carrying around days of food for a whole family is much. You're not going to find that much storage, stowaway space. That's going to take up regular room in the vehicle, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to take up trim space or something. Yeah. I guess underneath the seat.
Stove and like a bunch of beans and rice, but I mean, I don't know how often. I mean, realistically, how often does somebody get stopped more than a while? And nowadays, the worst case is something stops the traffic, like Angelina was saying, for hours. You eventually get out and walk down to wherever an Uber will pick you up, and you go back later and get your car, right? If it's like something like a catastrophic wreck or like a chemical spill where they're like, you're not getting your car back this week or maybe ever, so you're just leaving. Like, I mean, does that even happen? Like, I would say you gotta anticipate like the realistic, go a little bit beyond that perhaps, but like completely unrealistic, you're going to be somehow, an apocalyptic thing.
Is there a nutritional value that we might want to be looking at too? Something high in protein or high in carbohydrates? Maybe do we want something high in sugar, or is that bad? For as a nutritional, does that make a difference? The nutritional value of the food you might want to keep in there, calories or.
I think it would be more of an issue of what's going to stay in decent shape, at least for me, because I've got extreme temperatures, especially coming up here.
So is stuff that's maybe dehydrated? Is that stuff that's better dehydrated foods?
No, I mean, I can't imagine a situation where I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just going to cook some food that's dehydrated in my car. I mean, I'm not camping or something, right?
Well, there's dehydrated foods you don't got to cook, right? That you could still eat.
Not that's good for you. I would say having like nuts and things, like normal, have humidity in them, so they're not killing you. Even jerkies and stuff can be, what do they call it? It's like eating a sponge, right? Like they are going to pull water from you in order to digest them. So ideally, you'd have like fruits and stuff, like a can of fruit or something that's hydrating and energy. But yeah, if you're talking like the nutrition, I would say proteins and energy, right? M&Ms and some nuts, that kind of thing. So
like
that
the trail mix?
You can get the hell out of Dodge. Yeah, and then something like you're saying, it makes a lot of sense to not have something you need to bring out spoons and a fork and a bowl and prepare it, right? But you can, sorry, I'm getting the intel from a friend of mine just about this gun. The conclusion of my sentence.
Is canned food something that would be really bad to keep into a car? Would that might cause botulism sooner in high heat or something like that? Should we avoid canned foods and just like foil packaged foods or plastic packaged foods?
I think those pouches are probably your way to go because they got moisture in them. If you find something you like eating, then something like whatever would be in a can, your processed foods, it's basically an MRE. You can buy those things for all over Walmart, so that means they're pretty much everywhere, right? Or at least they're going to be available in other stores for like $2 a pouch or less. The only problem is they're going to be super salty, but who the fuck cares? You're not like going out there to have like a healthy, escape. You're trying to just get energy in your body so you can keep moving. So ideally something, what would be good, speaking of that? There's some bars that, not the skip your meal type of bars, but like I want to eat 5 meals a day and I'm sick of eating all the time, so I'm just going to eat some calories type of bar. So they're trying to be good calories, but dense calories. So that, I'm talking about like meals or the diets that'll have you, eat every so often. And sometimes that just gets to be a burden and you can't. So you eat one of these really high calorie bars. Some of those things don't even taste all that good, but I'll bet you those are some of the best bang for your buck. And those are, They're not cheap, but they're double the price of a candy bar or something, probably. I think some of them were maybe more than $1 a piece, and then they're the size of a candy bar. And the ones I've had are basically, I don't know, basically like they're almost like a brownie. They're like a chewy granola bar, but they're not. They're more like a cookie dough almost, because they're all natural ingredients.
I would almost think that. Oh, go ahead, Angelina.
Like a Cliff Bar?
Yeah, except I get these ones called Lara, Lira, I think.
Oh, those are good. Yeah.
Like 4 ingredients. They're crazy good. And they got like 4 ingredients. Like there's no, those are, and you know what I'm talking about? How they're like, I don't know how to describe them. They're almost like eating a piece of pound cake or something. They're
super good.
dense. They're kind of they're kind of moist. So they're not like a granola bar really, but if you sat on one, you wouldn't even know it. Like they're super dense. It's like a fruit bar, or what do they call that thing? Fruit cake.
Yeah, fruit cake. Yeah, those are super good. That banana chocolate chip one is my
Peanut butter chocolate chip. That's one I like.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Orange box.
I have seen. I'm not sure how they compare to MREs, but I have seen things called survival rations before, that have like a super long shelf life, because I guess they're made to keep on boats or rafts, lifeboats, stuff like that. And I want to say that those had like a super, super long shelf life. And if they're like something aboard a lifeboat, right, something that might be out on the deck of a boat, always in the sun, heat, stuff like that, moisture, I imagine that those things would have to be pretty well sealed. And those life rations are supposed to have water. I think it had water and all sorts of just different foods. And I think it even had like multiple vitamins in it or something, right? Just it was like an all-inclusive kit. Have you seen those, the survival rations?
Where they're like for the life rafts, you're saying? Sorry.
Yeah, like for life rafts or boats, stuff like that.
I eat
saw
them. They're
some on
not
my-
that good. They're pretty difficult to eat. It's not something like, if in a situation like Angelina's talking about, you're not going to be like, oh, let me open up that ration kit. Because number one, most of the time it's like you open up the main MRE pouch, and then there's a bunch of little individually wrapped little nuggets in there that make up the cube. But you've now opened it and it's no longer an emergency ration. Like you pretty much have to eat it or it's going to go bad, because it's like coconut oil and sugar and coconut or something. Like there's very few ingredients, but they're all fat and sugar. Have you eaten them?
No, I haven't eaten them, but I've seen them.
Have you ever eaten, like, how when you go to a Chinese restaurant, you'll either have fortune cookies or almond cookies? You ever eaten an almond cookie?
Yes.
Okay, they taste like an almond cookie mixed with a brownie a little bit, but dry like an almond cookie. But there's, it's like eating an almond cookie that takes like an hour and a half to eat it. And you really feel like you're eating an almond cookie like long enough that you are sick of eating an almond cookie, even though that sounds like a good thing to eat. It's a lot to eat, those whole things, because they're so dense. So I've eaten them, but I'm super cheap, right? So I hate opening those things and having in fact, I won't open them anymore. Like if you open them, you'd have to eat them, and I can't stand eating them, so I don't open them, because it's not like, oh, like an MRE or something. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, it's getting old or whatever. I'll just open it, and I'll eat the crackers tomorrow, and I'll eat the M&Ms now, and I'll eat the package thing, later on or something. It's not like that. You got to pretty much start eating that stuff. I guess you could put it in the refrigerator, but I would think that would be ideal for like a family where you're going to bust it open. Everybody's going to get 3 of them, and it's going to be done. You know what I mean? Like that's going to divide the whole thing up. Or if you wanted to like open it up, pass it out to the other people in the parking area or whatever, it's like, I don't think you'd want to. And I haven't seen those things like individually wrapped. I've only seen them in those big bricks that I'm talking about,
Like, yeah, like the ones at the Army Navy store, they look like a little tiny like fishing box or something, just filled full of food.
Oh, maybe we're thinking something different. I'm thinking of ones that are just a big square cube, and you open it up, and it's a bunch of little things the size of a matchbox.
Well, I think this was like a specialized kit, and they were trying to just sell it to boat owners or something like that, right? Just like a little plastic box that floated, so it wouldn't sink even if it went in the water. And I think it was pretty expensive too. I mean, I think I want to say it fed it was like 6 meals inside of it or something, and it was I want to say they were like $40 a pop. So they definitely weren't cheap. But no, now I'm gonna have to go evaluate my food situation in my vehicle now. I'm probably just gonna get some maybe some trail mix, and then the hard part's going to be remembering like it's in the car, like, and I'm just gonna forget about it, and like one day, years later, and be like, oh my gosh, like this has been in here all the whole time. That's what I'm afraid is going to happen. Because I've definitely had water bottles in my car for just forever and ever and ever, and just spaced off, swapping them out.
Yeah, so this jerk ass friend of mine just got an H&K, so been chatting with me, and I'm super distracted now. We've got 18 people watching. We got 19 thumbs, which is a pretty good ratio. But according to my math, we've been live for 2 hours, which is the Second Amendment. So I'm going to be up for a while because I've got a mission tonight. If people want to join off air, there's a special movie that will be airing for certain people only, and you'll be able to watch this movie. And the people that have invites already know who they are. They had links sent to them in email. So if they want to join in, otherwise, after the screening of the movie, which isn't that long, we will be sending out links on the Gun Channel side. Today's Wednesday. That means tomorrow's Thursday. That means we've got the NRA chat with, let's see, we got Rob Pincus said, yep. We got Jared from Guns and Gadgets said he'd join in. We got Sean from We Like Shooting. And then we got Jeff Knox, who is the author of Gun Rights War. And we're going to be talking about the NRA earlier in this show. Of course, we talked about some of the stuff we'll chat about tomorrow, so appreciate that. Sarge has a show tomorrow, or is it obnoxious? Some of you'll know out there. Clover has a show. He was out here earlier, and we'll see if he says if he knows what his topic is yet. And then who else? Somebody else has a show on Thursdays, or did they move it?
I think
Travis moved his show to Thursday, and I believe he said something about his show. So I believe he'll be having a show. We will also have a show, and that's a lot of shows tomorrow. There's also Friday, and then there's Saturday. There's also a Sunday.